You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
The options market can be a confusing place. Sorting through the daily avalanche of data, alerts, updates, articles, and analysis to find the most important information is an overwhelming prospect. But now you have help. Welcome to the Options News Rundown, the only program that breaks through the noise to bring you the most important news and information from the world of options. Every day, we bring you the top 5 option stories curated by the options experts at theoptionsinsider.com, the premier source for options information. The Options News Rundown is brought to you by Market Taker Mentoring, the leader in options trading education. Get trader education, daily trade ideas, and more with a free 1-week trial of Market Taker Mentoring's Live Advantage Group coaching class by visiting markettaker.com/insider. And now it's time to break through the noise. It's time for your Options News Rundown.
Good morning. Today is Wednesday, June 26th, 2019. This is your Options News Rundown. I'm Dan Passarelli. Our first story of the day is from investing.com. It's the top 5 things to know in the market on Wednesday. First thing to know is Mnuchin says U.S.-China trade deal is 90% complete. U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin declared on Wednesday that the U.S.-China trade deal is 90% done, and there was a clear path to complete an agreement. Mnuchin's comments came after reports that the U.S. is willing to delay the next round of tariffs on $300 billion in Chinese goods as trade negotiators prep further talks. Washington would make the temporary concession in order to bring Beijing back to the negotiating table, according to sources cited by Bloomberg. U.S. President Donald Trump and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping are scheduled to hold discussions on Saturday at the sidelines of the G20 summit. Expectations for that meeting remain low, and analysts say the best case scenario would be a resumption of official talks. A Bloomberg source suggested that rounds of meetings between top trade officials from both countries likely would begin again after the G20 summit. The second thing to know today is Wall Street is set to celebrate trade hopes. U.S. futures moved from a timid recovery to modest gains on Wednesday after Mnuchin's comments. U.S. stocks ended lower on Tuesday, of course, after Federal Reserve Chairman Jeremy Powell, in a keynote speech, bristled at political pressure to cut interest rates. Powell reiterated his message from last week's policy meeting, to wit that the Fed will take its time to decide whether the economic impact from trade disputes and low inflation were significant enough to require a rate cut. The third thing to know today is oil extends a rally on solid inventory draw. Oil bulls regained their wind after a brief dip on Tuesday as weekly data from the American Petroleum Institute showed a strong draw of 7.6 million barrels in U.S. crude stockpiles. U.S. crude oil futures jumped $1.06 or 1.8% to $58.89 by 5:43 a.m. Eastern, while Brent oil traded up 80 cents or 1.2% to $65.08. The official government data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration will be released at 10:30 a.m. Eastern amid expectations for a draw of 2.5 million barrels. Oil has gained more than 10% since mid-June as escalating tensions between the U.S. and Iran took protagonism away from the ongoing Sino-U.S. trade conflict as the principal short-term price driver. The fourth thing to know today is durable goods could show the impact of the U.S.-China trade dispute. Given Powell's comments above, the publication of durable goods orders for May will be the focus on Wednesday's economic calendar. They will either reinforce or offset the impression of a weakening economy created this month by a sharp drop in hiring and in consumer confidence. The headline number is forecast to be flat after a sharp drop in April. The less volatile core reading that excludes transportation is expected to inch up 0.1%. That would suggest a timid recovery after orders stagnated in April, putting an end to 2 consecutive months of contraction. Weakness in U.S. economic data would provide further support for the argument that the Fed needs to ease policy quickly. Markets currently expect a rate cut to arrive in July. And the fifth thing to know today is Bitcoin continues to wow as LedgerX gets regulatory approval. Bitcoin scaled further positions as it continued a more than 2-week rally that has pushed its price from $7,888 to nearly $13,000 on Wednesday. The main reasons cited for the renewed boom were signs of wider acceptance for cryptocurrencies in general. The launch of the Facebook-backed digital coin project Libra contributed to that rationale. But bulls could find a similar excuse in news late Tuesday that LedgerX has won regulatory approval for a Bitcoin futures contract that will be settled in Bitcoin rather than cash. The green light from the Commodity Futures Trading Commission means that the cryptocurrency exchange is cleared to offer institutional and retail investors futures, options, and swaps, and may serve as a positive sign for similar requests from rivals such as Bakkt. Our next story of the day is from investing.com. The dollar pushes higher as markets dial back Fed rate cut bets. The U.S. dollar edged higher on Wednesday, pulling away from a 3-month low as markets dialed back expectations for aggressive interest rate cuts by the Federal Reserve next month. But expectations for some monetary easing checked the currency's gains. Expectations for a 0.5 percentage point cut at the Fed's July meeting receded after St. Louis Fed President James Bullard said Tuesday that such a move would be overdone. Separately, Fed Chairman Jeremy Powell said the central bank is insulated from short-term political pressures, pushing back against U.S. President Donald Trump's demand for a significant rate cut. The comments tempered expectations for aggressive easing, but investors are still expecting at a 0.25 percentage point cut next month. The U.S. dollar index against a basket of currencies edged up to 95.75 by 2:44 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday. It's off a 3-month low of 95.36 reached on Tuesday. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is news you can use for today, June 26th, 2019, your Options News Rundown. I'm Dan Passarelli, Trade Smart, and have a great day.
The Options News Rundown is brought to you by Market Taker Mentoring, the leader in options trading education. Get trader education, daily trade ideas, and more with a free 1-week trial of Market Taker Mentoring's Live Advantage Group coaching class by visiting markettaker.com/insider.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.